Hi, I'm Andy Coxeldress from Co-op Culture, and welcome to another of our series of short instructional videos for co-ops, community businesses, and their development workers. In this series of videos, we're looking at how you may create detailed financial projections. And this particular part of that is the sort of questions you need to ask yourself before you start creating the financial projections. This particular video is going to be on who will use your spreadsheet, and the differences you need to think about how you create the spreadsheet depending on who's going to use it. So in the previous video, we looked at the final audience, where the outputs from the spreadsheet went, who's going to see the sort of printed documents and how that's how that affects how you write your spreadsheet. In this one, we're actually going to be looking at who's going to be inputting the data into the spreadsheet, who's going to be making changes to the spreadsheet. Is it going to be you, or are you writing the spreadsheet for somebody else to be inputting data into? As with the last video and all the videos in this workshop, I'm going to be using LibreCalc as the spreadsheet program, but the principles apply to any spreadsheet software. So you know the same would be true in Excel, Google Sheets, iNumbers. Yeah. So when you think about creating a spreadsheet, thing to think about first of all is who is going to make the changes and input the data into the spreadsheet. So when you're writing a set of financial projections, you will notice that you'll write a set of financial projections, you'll test some market assumptions, and you'll go, actually, that doesn't work. We need to redo our model. We need to make some changes because the finances don't stack up. So we need to revisit our marketing assumptions and make changes to those, and then to model what that would look like in terms of the spreadsheet. Also, potentially, what happens if you get finance from a different source? What would changes in, we modeled it, we're saying that there's going to be a 4% interest, but actually because of changes in the Bank of England base rate, interest is going to have to be at 4.5. All these changes that are likely to happen mean that what you have developed, the financial forecast that you've developed, are going to have to be changed. So the question to ask is, who is going to be doing that? So if you are going to be doing that, then you have to think a lot less about how the spreadsheet is structured. You can just make the financial forecasts, and then you can go back and make the changes as and when they occur. This is a lot less work to create initially, but there is a lot more ongoing work. So if there's going to be lots of changes, it's probably not that efficient. If you're likely to have got it right first time, then that's a reasonable way of doing things in terms of time. Yeah. The converse of that is that actually it's going to be the client, the person you're making, the person or the organization you're making the spreadsheet for, who's going to have to make the changes at a later date. If this is the case, then what you're going to have are variable boxes. So you're going to have to create spaces where people can enter data, enter variables that may change as information on the ground changes, or as we change our marketing assumptions for whatever reason. And there is a space where they can change that, and then it has a knock-on effect on the rest of the spreadsheet. Now, this is much harder to create because you'll need to have a lot more formulas. Potentially, you'll end up with not just summing or mathematical functions, but you might want to have some logical functions, some of the if functions or the sum ifs, which means that you have to understand the spreadsheet program and its formula language a lot more. But there's less or almost no ongoing work. If you're going to go down this route, then one of the things that you'll that I will recommend that you do is that you have clearly defined variable boxes. So by that, I mean spaces where people should be putting their data in. These should be color coded so that people know where to look. You should make sure that cells where people shouldn't be putting the data in are protected so people can't accidentally overwrite, especially to write some of those very complicated nested if functions that you have used. And then you should create a README sheet that explains what it is you're asking people to do. So here is an example. This is a spreadsheet that I created for a client. And the first sheet that that I have in my spreadsheet is called README. And it's called README, and it's the first sheet that you can see. And it's the first thing that I would like someone to do before using the spreadsheet is to read this. Yeah. And what it does is it tells you what the spreadsheet is for, where you put the data. So the data is generally entered into, when I'm organizing work, it's entered into a dashboard tab where you can like all the data is entered in one place, which then is everything is calculated in later sheets, but the data is all entered in one place. It tells you about the color coding that is used, and we'll go through that in a second. And it then gives you some of the instructions as to the order that you should put in the data in, depending upon, just depending on what you think is a good logical order for the client to go through to create a set of financial projections. So what I tend to do, I have color, with color coding, is that there are four colored cells, and all the cells in this dashboard are basically going to be colored one of these four. Have data entry cells, and they're colored green, and then in that cell you could actually just type in new information. So let's just say we're going to have some kind of electricity provision. So I've got a space that I can be typing things in. I've got, I can put an amount in there, and I can put further information in. So I've color coded my data entry cells to be this one green color. I've also color coded the blue cells to be cells that you can put data in, but I've made a recommendation as to what the data should be. So it could be residential, it could be commercial, but I've recommended that you say it's a commercial land transaction. I have effectively heading colors so that people know this is a new box, this is where I need to look for putting more information. And I have places where you can't type in data. So for instance here, if I started trying to type in data, it'll tell me that my protected cells cannot be modified. And again, if I went to say one of my output or print sheets, I won't be able to accidentally type over some of the formulas that I have put in there. To make cells protected or unprotected, you need to change the formatting of the cell to be either a protected or unprotected cell. So by default, the cells are protected, and the protection doesn't kick in until you protect the sheet. What you'll need to do is unprotect the cells that you want to have as unprotected, and then if you protect the sheet, everything else will be automatically protected. So my sheets don't have a password on the protection because I believe people should be able to change the formulas. I just don't want them to accidentally overwrite them. And now if I wanted to, say for instance, make these cells protected or unprotected, I would go to format cells, which I can do by right clicking, format cells. Things are taking a little while. So we have the cell protection tab, and usually the protected checkbox is checked. So that's what it usually looks like. So if I now protected the sheet, I wouldn't be able to write into here, which is where I was writing before. And obviously I don't want that, so I'm going to go back and unprotect everything. So format cells. Make sure that this is unchecked. Okay. And then to protect the sheet, or to unprotect the sheet, if you click on the sheet, right click on it and go to protect sheet. And it will ask you to put in a password if you want one, but you don't have to, and I generally don't. But it does prevent the accidental changing of complicated formulas. So that is how I would go about creating a more complicated spreadsheet for clients to then be entering data. And that's what you need to think about quite early on. Is this something that I'm going to be doing the changes to, in which case I don't have to worry about a lot of that kind of stuff? Is this something that the client is going to end up doing, in which case you should really worry about all that sort of stuff? Cool. I hope you liked this video. I hope you found it informative. If you did like this video, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel. Please also click the notification button if you want to be notified of more short instructional videos for co-ops, community businesses, and their development workers. Thank you all for watching.